You've been in situations where everything you said was reasonable, every argument you made was logical, every intention you had was good, and none of it mattered. She didn't change her mind. She didn't see your perspective. The conversation ended exactly where it started, except now there's more distance between you, and you're left wondering why intelligence and good intentions aren't enough to create influence in the moments that actually matter. Here's what most men miss. Influence in relationships doesn't operate through the mechanisms you think it does. It's not about having better arguments. It's not about being more right. It's not even about being more emotionally articulate. Influence happens at a level beneath conscious reasoning, through psychological dynamics that were mapped decades ago by researchers studying social behavior, attachment patterns, and unconscious decision-making. These aren't tricks. They're observations about how human nervous systems respond to certain relational configurations. And once you understand them, you stop trying to convince people and start creating conditions where they convince themselves. The foundation of all relational influence is this: people don't change because you want them to. They change when remaining the same becomes more uncomfortable than transformation. Your job isn't to push them toward a new position. It's to make their current position feel less stable than they thought it was. Not through pressure, not through argument, but through subtle shifts in how you show up that create internal dissonance they need to resolve. Principle 1. Scarcity of attention creates value perception. When your attention is constant and unconditional, it becomes background noise. She stops registering it as meaningful because it requires no effort to maintain. But the moment your attention becomes variable, present sometimes, withdrawn others, distributed across multiple priorities rather than concentrated entirely on her, its perceived value increases. This isn't about playing games. It's about having a life substantial enough that your attention actually is limited. When she notices you're no longer always available, no longer always responsive, no longer organizing your schedule around her convenience, something shifts in how she relates to your presence. Not because you're punishing her, but because scarcity forces evaluation of worth. Principle 2. Reciprocity creates psychological debt. When you do something for someone without being asked, without expectation, without keeping score, their nervous system registers an imbalance that needs correction. But here's the critical part. The gesture has to be unexpected and non-transactional. If she can sense you're doing something because you want something back, the reciprocity mechanism doesn't activate. You're just negotiating. But when your generosity comes from genuine overflow, when you solve a problem she didn't ask you to solve, when you make her life easier without needing credit for it, she feels compelled to restore balance. Not consciously, not strategically, but as an automatic response to perceived imbalance in the relational economy. Principle 3. Consistency. Pressure creates self-perception alignment. Once someone takes a small position publicly, even something minor, even something they're not fully committed to, they experience psychological pressure to remain consistent with that stated position. If she says something positive about you in front of others, if she defends a choice she made regarding you, if she commits to something small that aligns with a larger pattern you want to establish, her brain starts working to make her behavior consistent with her stated position. You're not forcing her to change. You're creating small moments where she declares something, and then her own need for internal consistency does the rest of the work. Principle 4. Social proof overrides individual assessment. People look to others to determine what's valuable, what's desirable, what's worth their attention. If you're the man constantly seeking her validation, constantly making her the center of your world, constantly available only to her, she has no external reference point suggesting you're valuable beyond your pursuit of her. But if other people clearly value your time, if other women find you interesting, if you have social proof that your presence is competed for rather than given freely, her evaluation of you changes. Not because she's shallow, because humans are social creatures who use collective assessment as a shortcut for individual evaluation. When she sees others treating you as high value, she recalibrates her own perception to match. Principle 5. Intermittent reinforcement creates addictive attachment. Consistent reward produces stable but weak attachment. Intermittent reward, sometimes present, sometimes absent, unpredictable in timing, creates the strongest behavioral conditioning. This is why the man who's always there, always responsive, always emotionally available, produces less intense attachment than the man whose presence is less predictable. It's not about being cruel or withholding. It's about not being so immediately available that she never experiences the chemical response of wondering where you are, missing your presence, feeling relief when you reappear. Predictability creates comfort. Variability creates intensity. Principle 6. Authority through competence creates unconscious deference. When you demonstrate genuine mastery in domains that matter, not performed for her benefit, but as expression of who you actually are, she begins to defer to your judgment in ways she doesn't consciously decide to. If you handle crisis calmly, if you solve problems she can't, if you navigate situations she finds overwhelming with ease, her nervous system starts categorizing you as more capable than her in specific domains. And capability creates a form of natural authority that doesn't need to be claimed. She simply starts looking to you for direction in those areas because your competence has been proven through demonstration, not declaration. Principle 7. Contrast effects shape value perception. How she perceives you isn't absolute. It's relative to recent comparisons. If the men she's been around lately were emotionally chaotic, if her last relationship was exhausting, if the other options in her environment are clearly less developed than you benefit from contrast. But this works in reverse too. If you follow a man who was significantly more compelling than you, if you're being compared to an idealized memory, if the contrast makes you look worse rather than better, you're fighting uphill against a perception shaped by comparison, not by your actual qualities. Understanding this means sometimes the timing of your presence matters as much as the quality of it. Principle 8. Withdrawal of presence creates pursuit response. This is the mechanism most men misunderstand. They think withdrawal is about punishment or creating anxiety, but the actual psychology is different. When someone becomes accustomed to your presence and attention, and then that presence reduces without explanation or drama, simply becomes less available, less focused, less oriented around them. It creates a gap their attention rushes to fill, not because they miss you specifically, but because their nervous system notices the absence of something it had adapted to having. The key is, the withdrawal can't be performed as manipulation. It has to emerge from genuine redirection of your attention toward things that actually matter to you. When you're not chasing her because you're busy building something real, the psychology works. When you're not chasing her as a tactic to make her chase you, she senses the performance and the mechanism fails. These principles aren't about control. They're not about making someone do what they don't want to do. They're about understanding the unconscious dynamics that shape how people experience relationship and attraction. So you stop working against them and start working with them. The man who understands these mechanisms doesn't need to manipulate. He simply structures his presence in ways that naturally activate the psychological responses that create sustained interest, rather than immediate burnout. He influences not through force, but through alignment with how human nervous systems actually operate beneath the level of conscious choice.